was gonna say, like, it's a very interesting experience, dude. Like trying to like go up and have people just yell shit at you. You're just like, you don't know what to say. And last week, the light was like right in my face, so I couldn't see anybody.
Oh man!
Like even the people in the front, I was like, oh, I can't see anybody. But yeah, it's a rough time. So I'm gonna see if I can hit all of them, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I was gonna say that is interesting how not being able to see everybody in the crowd can impact your performance, because I am starting to lose my vision a little bit just over time, and so I have to wear glasses now in order to see beyond like 10 feet. And I started having to
10 feet.
Yeah, something like that. Or, well, I mean, I can see beyond that point, but in order to be able to see things clearly enough to, like, make them out. And, oh, man, sorry, I'm going to have to get a lot of...
Help, I'm high, can't get down. Help, I'm high, can't get down.
First bong hit.
Ever in his entire life. How old are you?
33.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, the last time I hit... Dude, it's funny because the last time I hit a bong with somebody who was that age, they said, I haven't hit one of these in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then I just like, oh, no, it wasn't even him. And I just like looked at him and I was like, dude, I wasn't even smoking 10 years ago. That's so crazy to me. Like 33. You've seen a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I remember. Well, you're like 22, right?
I'm 26.
26, okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember in my 20s thinking that, you know, when you get into your 30s, you're old now. Like, that was the way I was conceiving it. And now I'm like, yeah, it's not, you know, 30s is still
pretty fun?
Yeah, it's still in the young zone,
losing my eyesight and everything, but, you know, it's fun. It's everything.
Yeah,
great.
yeah, exactly. But no, I was going to say, like, I started wearing, you know, glasses because the one night I was doing, you know, my stupid Jeopardy closer, where I need to be able to, like, see someone in the crowd, like, saying, like, responding to something in order for the joke to work. And I realized that with my glasses not on, I couldn't see, like, who was shouting out the thing that I need them to say to set up the joke.
Oh, no.
And so it would end up looking kind of weird because I just, like, talked to some random, like, you know, section of the audience because I didn't know specifically who was saying the thing. So anyway, you underestimate how important it can be to see everyone in the crowd, but you run into circumstances where it's necessary.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. Do you know why you're losing your eyesight? Like,
oh no, it's just general like just decline of vision. You know, I think
already.
Well, I don't think it's purely age related, but I think. In my case, what accelerated it was I used to live in Florida, and when I drive on the interstate, the pavement would be wet and the sun would reflect off of it, and I think it hit me in the eyes like for so many hours a day, so many days in a row, that it just kind of fucked up my eyesight. And since then, it's you know gotten blurrier and blurrier. But so I don't think it's purely.
Can you see better
related.
in like daytime?
Yeah, definitely better in the daytime than
so
in
like
nighttime.
if like someone's standing 15 feet away from you in the daytime, you could see them just as clear, but if it was like later at night, it probably wouldn't look the same.
Yeah,
would you maybe make that assumption, or have you tried that?
Probably something a little bit like that. I mean, it's definitely it's worse at night, but during the day it would also be difficult beyond a certain.
Well, the
range.
reason why I bring this up is because we were just talking about this at one of the open mics that I was just at, and somebody was saying that they make glasses for people who work third shift because they don't see the sun.
Okay,
and so it fucks with their heads and they can't sleep and shit like that. And so I'm wondering if maybe like, you know, in the light time, like maybe your eyes are like damaged, like where it's like, you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Have you had anything diagnosed?
I don't think I've had anything diagnosed as of yet.
It sounds like astigmatism because I have that same problem.
Interesting. Yeah, it might be that same issue. I'll have to.
Especially with the degradation over time, it definitely sounds like astigmatism.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
See, I used to have an astigmatism when I was younger, and then I grew out of it because I
Gotcha.
lost my glasses, and we were too poor, and I couldn't get any more. So literally, I just had to go without them, and my eyes fixed themselves.
Interesting. Yeah. So your vision just kind of naturally adjusted and
Yeah.
and improved over time. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, you know, the human body can do a lot. I was thinking about that earlier. Like, I like to watch football, and I'm a Browns fan. So I was thinking about, you know, Baker Mayfield just got traded to the Panthers, and he has this collarbone injury, which he had surgery on in the offseason. I was thinking, like, how long does it take to, you know, for something like that to repair itself? And yeah, the human body's pretty resilient. It's amazing that within a few weeks, like a bone can grow back.
That blows my mind.
That's amazing.
If I broke, like Conor McGregor, when he broke his fucking leg, or whatever, his ankle or whatever he did, like, dude, I would never fight again. Like when he like I don't remember what he did. He kicked somebody.
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah, he was like out for like a minute. People were making fun of him for a while because, like, you know what I mean? They were like, because he couldn't. Yeah, look that up just to make sure. I'm pretty sure he like broke his leg, and I was like, I would never fight again. If I shattered my fucking leg.
Sure. Yeah, I've got.
You watching it? Dude, it was like a crazy one too.
Wish I could put it on the screen, huh?
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, yeah, but it broke, right? Did it say it broke?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, see? He didn't believe me for a second.
Right at the ankle, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, he was out for a minute, and I'm like, dude, I would never fight again.
Yeah.
Like, why would you risk that?
No, I watched that fight. He finished that fight. That's what I don't remember.
Damn, that's crazy, yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, it must just be, you know, people have like a love for the competition or the sport itself, and so they return for that reason. But yeah, if you're getting physically, or for the compensation, I mean, like, you know, they get paid a lot of money. But at that point, you're probably already a successful. I mean, you're a rich fighter.
Yeah.
Like, why would you continue to put yourself through harm's way like that?
Exactly.
I get what you're saying.
Dude, so how long have you been doing comedy for if you're 33 years old?
Yeah, I started 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. So you're still pretty new.
Still pretty new. And I was living in New Jersey at the time, across the river from New York City. And I had just finished my master's degree down in Florida. I had moved up there moved up to New Jersey because my girlfriend had found a residency after medical school.
Master's degree in what?
Business administration.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, one of the things on my list after I finished my degree and I was done with my job in Florida was I wanted to try stand-up comedy just for the fun of it. You know, I thought I'd do it probably one time and then not really ever do it again. But I went to this place in New York City on the west side of Manhattan and did an open mic, and it went kind of good. So I was like, I think I kind of like this, and I'm going to try it out for a while. And yeah, that was 2017. So it's been about 4.5 years now.
Damn.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts, man. It's hard to believe.
And you didn't do anything during the pandemic or anything?
I did a couple of shows here and there. Like I did the first show back at Wiley's. They did some kind of like charity shows when Wiley's first came back in June of 2020. And so I did like that weekend. I did I think 1 or 2 of those shows. But then I took a pretty substantial break until really March or April of this year. I started to put some of the shows that I used to run back together and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really wanted to go out. I didn't go out at all, but it was one of those things that, like, there was a bunch of people that were going out that were still doing shows here, and I was like, bro, I really want to be a part of that. 'Cause,
oh,
like,
yeah.
And
sure.
That's, like, they always talk about, like, the things that you'll regret. Like, you know, when you're older,
right.
That's the one thing that I know that I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. Because, like,
sure,
like, I could have gotten so much growth with just, like, small crowds of, like, no people, you know what I mean? Just bombing constantly for a whole fucking year, just trying to figure shit out.
Sure.
So then I could have, like, been a much better writer and everything. But, like, now I'm, like, I'm still new enough to where, like, when I walk out on stage and I want to try out new shit, and I get worried because I'm like, I don't know if it's going to work for this crowd. And then I just do the tested material. And then I get off stage and I'm like, well, I didn't get any work done because I just did stuff that's already been fucking finished up. So it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
How do you go about working on new material?
Oh man, these days it's a little tougher because I used to the first time I went on stage, I spent 6 months prior to that like writing material, and
So you
and
just
really
had so
refined
much
it and
shit.
edited it down. I knew exactly what I was going to say the first time I ever went on stage for the whole 5 minutes, and so I used to use that process. And since then, I've kind of like moved from like writing things down on a pad, like trying to write them out word for word, to like formulating it a little bit and then writing down bullet points. To now, I'll just like send myself a text message or like Facebook message myself and send ideas that I'm working on. But yeah, the process has evolved pretty significantly. Now it's a lot less meticulous than it used to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, like how long did it take for that transformation to happen?
I think it just happened organically over the course of a few years, and I don't even know if it's a positive progression necessarily.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just didn't know like how long it took. You know what I mean? Because it's like you were working on that for like 6 months, but you also weren't doing the stand up. You weren't doing shows, so it's
exactly
like you didn't have all the other shit on the plate.
Yeah, and maybe it's a little like a little bit of complacency kind of starts to set in where you're like, I'm gonna sort of half wing it a little bit, and I think I know how this is going. Which I mean, the battle is to do that less and less, because the more disciplined you are, the quicker you'll see results. But I think that's part of the equation.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things that I've been telling everybody recently. Because like they all think that I'm like working so hard and stuff like that. And it's like, no, I'm not like doing anything really. I'm just like doing a little bit more than like what some of you guys are doing. And it's like if you just did a little bit more, you probably could see like just as much, if not more, success. Because a lot of these people are funnier than me. A lot of these people, have more business savvy than I am. So it's like, if they just, started going into different avenues, I feel like there's a lot of people who are like still old heads, if that makes sense, where it's like they are under the impression that like they'll go to the Funny Bone, do a 5-minute set at an open mic, and then someone's going to walk up to them and say, hey, you're really funny. Do you want to open for Mark Norman next week?
Exactly.
Dude, that's like literally what I think happens in their heads. Because like I remember I ran into this like new comic, and he just like literally would not understand, like, because we're like 5 minutes, you get lit at 5 minutes, and he would just run the light, and we're just like, dude, what are you doing? And he'd be like, well, I mean these people get to run the light, these people get to do this, and it's like, first of all, no one's letting them do that. That's disrespectful. It's like you're like, it's like a respect thing. It's like, it's not about how much time you think you deserve, or how much, or like how much material you have to work on. It's like, you're not Eddie Griffin. You're not fucking Dave Chappelle. You're not fucking, all these other guys. It's like, you get 5 minutes. Especially when you start off, a lot of people like aren't funny. I wasn't funny for a really long time. I would be horrified now if I saw like a clone of me like come in to sign up for his first time. I would be like, and he's like, I'm going to do 10 minutes tonight. No, you're not. I'm going to beat you up. Like, what are you doing? Like, man. It's one of those things that they just don't, I don't know.
Yeah. No,
and I don't fully understand either. So it's like.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people, the way they conceptualize or the way they anticipate that the process in stand-up comedy is going to go is kind of like you said. Like, they're just going to come up with such brilliant material and have such a great delivery that like their talent alone will like catapult them to success. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the way they think about it. And they think about running into that person at Funny Bone who's like, you really got this thing, kid, or whatever. And they're just like
some fat dude with a hat on. He's like, I really liked your set, son. Here's $50.
Yeah, and that's kind of the storybook movie version of it, which is not as romantic as the reality, which is for most people, and being still relatively new to it myself, maybe I'm incorrect about this, but it seems like for most people in it that achieve significant success, it's like 15 to 20 years of like all the headaches and hassles that we are coming to know as like new comedians. and just dealing with that and just continuing to get better, continuing to take steps forward through all of that adversity. And then eventually you find yourself, you know, in a more sustainable, you know, hopefully financial
situation.
Financial place. And so I think there's a big gap, just like there's that whole like gap between the way you think things will go on stage and the way they usually go in reality. Like there's a gap.
Happens all the fucking time, dude.
Yeah, there's a gap in understanding between like what the pipeline and process is for succeeding in comedy in theory versus what it is in reality, basically.
Yeah, dude. Because I mean, there have been many times where like Ridge and I will be like, "Dude, I killed it," and then we'll send each other our sets, and then we're like, "All right, maybe we didn't kill it."
We killed it to that front 3.
Yeah. There's only 3 people that laughed.
Yeah,
and that's also very disheartening sometimes, because you're like, you'll get off stage, you're like, "Oh, dude, someone finally laughed at a joke that I was working on," and then like you'll go out and you're like, "Oh, literally only one person laughed." Like, fuck. Like,
sure.
Like, this sucks.
And you don't know the reason why they, if it's a situation where you're trying to gauge the viability of a joke off of like audience response, and you hear that one laugh and you're like, "Oh, maybe that's an indicator like there's something here."
Or it could be they're just laughing
could also
at you.
Exactly. So that's the difficult thing to figure out. It's almost like you're just playing your own interpretation, and if you happen to think like, "Oh, it seems like that was a laugh of approval," then maybe it's worth trying that. Well, it's always worth trying it a few more times.
But dude,
you know?
but wouldn't it be crazy if like, what if that's how like it worked? Like, what if someone did that and it worked for them every time? Like, people were laughing at them.
Yeah.
And so they thought that it worked. And so because they did the exact same thing and everything, people are laughing at like the embarrassment or whatever, and they think they're like, is there any comedians that are like that?
There's a comedian who is like that.
Oh.
I can't say, but it's no, I can't say.
We can say after the podcast.
I can't say who it is, but there is a comedian that I'm familiar with that essentially does that. But I was having a conversation, you know, with another comic friend of mine one time, and we were like, "Yeah, but I mean, he's still succeeding in the technical sense, you know, in terms of what, you know, objective metric there is to gauge
like
someone's level of performance,
getting shows, fucking, you know,
exactly." And
Dude,
yeah, there is a comedian I know who like, I mean, my impression is that people may be laughing more so at the person, but I don't know if that's like a bad thing if you're succeeding. You know, if you're getting laughs, I mean, that's the name of the game. So
I didn't think that there was like anybody like that.
And it might be. I don't know if it's. I mean,
are they aware or?
That's what I'm not totally certain about. I mean, I think this person's like awesome and everything, so I support them either way. But I don't know if it's intentional or if it just kind of happens organically, and there's like a recognition on their part, like, well, it's working this way, so you know. So I don't know if it's. I don't know how conscious it is, but I think the weed's starting to kick in a little bit too. I'm like. I've been trying to string together sentences the last couple.
He's like the last hour and a half. He's like, Kevin, we've been doing this for 2 minutes.
It's such a weird experience, man. I'm floating to Saturn in a sailboat, and
dude,
I'm at the same time my throat is on fire. You know, it's like a weird.
That's the thruster.
Like, exactly.
That's the thruster that's pushing your brain into the different.
That's what's systems. Doing it. Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's helping with my trimmers a little bit. I have like a trimmer condition.
Oh,
and so it's helping a little bit.
Wow.
It feels kind of good. So,
it's very known for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow,
nice.
Guys, we're just curing everything. He was like, guys, I had long COVID. And I haven't been able to smell anything since December. And I think that just brought some of my smell back.
I really think it did. I coughed so hard that I think it like activated something like my olfactory bulb or something like that. It just like came online.
Dude, this is slowly turning into the podcast of science.
It's gaining a science element to it.
Last time we had a dietitian on and a nutritionist or whatever, and so we're just turning into science. This is what is happening.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
But yeah, man, that's crazy. I would say that didn't work for me. I feel like people, when they laughed at me in the beginning, I was like, I knew it, and I was like, well, this sucks. Like, how am I going to fix this? And then that pandemic break actually helped.
Yeah.
Because I had a chance to kind of like watch some other comedians, because like I wasn't spending a lot of time watching comedy. Because one of my problems that I have is that I do like growing up and stuff like that, I did a lot of like impersonations and stuff like that. So my fear always is like I'm gonna watch somebody and I'm either going to like accidentally like parallel write a joke that's like theirs, or I'm just gonna steal their cadence. You know what I mean? Or like the way they deliver their lines or whatever. And I'm very impressionable, so it's like I am afraid of watching people who are really good, because it's like I'm afraid I'm going to start doing that. And I know that some people, they have like, oh, he's like a Louis C.K. baby, or he looks like, or he's talking a lot like Dave Attell, or he tells jokes like this person. And I'm trying to avoid, that on accident. Like I'm not trying to do that like unconsciously. And then people say something like that about that. So I just want to make sure that like I'm doing my own comedy. And so it's like a push and pull when it comes to like watching comedy for me. Yeah. You watch a lot of comedy?
I watch a lot more than I used to. Before I started doing stand-up, I actually didn't watch it very often. I used to watch, some of the stand-up specials that they show on Comedy Central. And I think that was the first time a seed got planted where I was like, maybe someday I want to like give that a shot. But otherwise, I mean, I didn't really watch a whole lot of comedy before I started doing stand-up. Now I watch it a lot, obviously being at shows with other comics. But then in addition, like if I see like a new special on, Netflix or like Amazon or something, I'll take an interest in it. So, but I think there's two schools of thought. And I've talked to my friend Chris about this in terms of, avoiding the parallel thinking thing. Or cryptomnesia, I guess more accurately. You can either...
What was that word?
Cryptomnesia. So it's like, it's the notion of like ideas entering your brain that were actually inspired or gathered from somewhere else.
Okay.
But by the time you remember it again, you conceptualize it as if it was your own idea.
Okay.
So that's what cryptomnesia is essentially. One of the big challenges, as stand-ups is that we're trying to avoid that because we don't want to do the inadvertent parallel thinking thing or inadvertently take material.
Yeah.
And of course you don't want to do it on purpose. So the two schools of thought are you can either watch as much comedy as you can consume and through that identify all of the subjects that are being talked about and therefore like better identify your own like unique lane. Or like you've talked about, avoid it altogether. And then you won't be inadvertently absorbing things that you may accidentally spit back out later on.
So the only other option for me, because I mean, I watch it here and there. Like I watch like Mark Norman or Sam Morril or Andrew Schultz shit, whenever they're posting shit and everything. But like, the only other option is to just watch way more.
Yeah, it's kind of a zero-sum game. It's either like you watch none or you watch all of it. I think that's
so crazy.
I think those are like the only options to be optimally effective at avoiding, cryptomnesia and parallel thinking and all of those things.
That's nuts.
So I think, but then again, if you take a moderated sort of like middle ground approach, you'll just have to be more diligent in your writing process. And what I've been doing is I'll put my jokes on our stand-up workshop, the Reddit thread.
Okay.
And then it's a group of other comedians that will take a look at your jokes. They'll give you feedback on the jokes, but they'll also let you know if they've seen that before.
Okay.
And so that way you can be sure that you're avoiding, parallel thinking or the cryptomnesia thing. It's our stand-up workshop, I think.
Nice.
And that's kind of an effective way if you go to like online forums and like try and find a community of other comics which it's easier to do virtually because in person, nobody wants to like run bits by like we all get embarrassed to do that. Although I like it when other comics do that and I'll run bits back. But a lot of comics get annoyed because they're like, we're working on stand-up all the time, so like let's not. But virtually, it's a virtual community, and so it's like more formal. It's like people comics coming here specifically to,
Do that.
help each other out, run bits, avoid parallel thinking, all that stuff.
Do you guys have anything like? So you're in Dayton right now. Is that where you're at? Like
Yeah,
currently?
yeah. I mean, I'm mainly based out of the Dayton scene. That's kind of when I came back to Ohio. That's where I first started to get back into stand up. I live in Middletown, so I'm technically like kind of in between the two scenes geographically. But I consider myself like kind of more of a Dayton comic, just because most of the comics I affiliate with are from Dayton, and I love Wiley's and all those places.
Do
obviously,
you guys do like a comic workshop over there at all?
There used to be a comics hang at Wiley's after or before Sunday Comics on Sundays around like 5 p.m. They'd have a thing where like all the comics could come and like run bits with each other and just like kind of hang out. But I don't think that there's and I don't think there are currently any like writing groups or anything like that active. But those are certainly, I mean, I think they're great ideas.
Yeah, because I was gonna say we went to one in Cincy, their feedback mic at Go Bananas, and it was like pretty informative, honestly. Like it was, like, especially when you get into a room with people who have been writing for so long, and who have like at least their own style of writing or like their method of writing, and it's like they're just like quick. They're so quick because they like have their path, and I feel like as a new comic, that's like what you're trying to find is like, what kind of writer am I? It's really like what it comes down to, you know what I mean? Because like you're just saying what you're writing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're trying to.
Sometimes you'll, improv it off the top of your head, but eventually it gets written down on paper, and then you say the exact same thing again.
That's very true. So I guess it's a, dude, I'm super high right now.
He's like struggling. I can watch him battling all of his demons right now. This is awesome.
Yeah, what was the question again, man? I'm so sorry.
No. We were talking about like feedback mics, and I said that the one at Go Bananas was really good, and I was just saying that like as a new comic, it's just harder because like you're trying to find out what kind of style of writer you are, because we all have different styles of comedy, and it all boils down to different styles of like writing, I feel like, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, man. Like you're trying to find your voice. You're trying to find out what your kind of unique lane is simultaneously, because those two things are intertwined. Like you're trying to refine all these parts about your process and what you want to proprietarily bring to the table. And it takes a long time. Like figuring that out, I think, and that's the transition from like the stage that we're at to like hopefully, headliner, at some point down the road, is just undergoing that transformation.
I was talking to like Austin, and he was telling me about how like even like you have like all these different levels of like comedians, and like even within those levels, you'll have like different levels of those specific comedians. So like you have your like open micer, and you have like your local shows, like that you're getting booked on local shows with your friends and stuff like that. Then you start getting into host, where it's like, and then there's like, that's when like there's multiple levels of host, where it's like, okay, you're a bad host, you're pretty good host, you're a fucking awesome host, and like depending on like where you are in those different levels, and depending on what other comedians are coming in. So he was like explaining to me that like, you might be like a fucking fire ass feature act. But now Dave Chappelle comes into town and he has a guy who's featuring for him. Now you become a fire host act. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like depending on like who's in the vicinity, what there's like different hierarchies, like in like terms of like, what you're doing, who's doing more time than you. And I feel like that's why that's like I was talking about with that newer comic, who was like running the lights all the time. It's like, it is a respect thing. It's like, these people are like, I always tell people this because I work at the Funny Bone. I see so many people that come through, and I don't see any difference between me and them. But I also see that they have put in 15, 20 years more than me, 25, 30 years. So it's like, there is a level of respect that they deserve when it comes to, it's like, you know what I mean? If we were both doing a show and Dave Chappelle popped in and he's like, you know, and I was like 15 minutes and they were like, hey, like Dave's here, we're going to give him 10 of your minutes. What am I going to do? Am I going to be like, no, I'm going to do the 15, he can do 5? Like, I mean, that's a little rude. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you know, you could argue that it would be rude for him to do that. But, like, at the same time, it's like, you have to understand it's like, you're a growing comic. And it's like, to even be on a show with, like, people who are even, like, harder hitters than you is, like, amazing. Like, I love doing shows with Jakey and Areno. Because, like, he, like, is fucking fire. He just, like, lights up the room, and he's so energetic, and, you know, he's been doing it for fucking years. You know, I would never be like, I deserve more time than Jake. You know what I mean? I would never do that. Because it's like, who the fuck am I? I'm a fucking open micer, barely getting shows here and there. It's like, you don't deserve fucking shit, dude. Chill. Yeah.
There's always something to be said for paying your dues, you know, like in any endeavor, you know, and sort of paying homage to the generations that have come before you. And maybe there's just kind of an abandonment of that tradition, like with younger generations to a certain degree. Dude, where like people coming up are kind of like, well, but I'm awesome, so I'm automatically entitled to.
The age of the internet,
like,
dude.
Yeah,
that's really what it is. It's like I can post fucking 5 videos, one blows up, and now I'm like, you know, 2 million followers deep, and it's like, that happens to some people, and they see that, and it's like, don't get me wrong. I like when I was like born, I was in 95. So I was like in that transitional period where it was like still old school. And then we like just like switched to new school. So it's like, I started seeing people just start blowing up and I was like, whoa, this could be like the next thing. But then it's like, as time like goes on, you realize it's like, oh, this is like not everybody thing. This is like happens every once in a while. You know, it's very rare. And now there's like, you know, tricks of the trade that you can like do to go viral. But it's like, still, it's not everybody. Because if it was, then everybody would have 8 billion followers.
Maybe that the whole social media proliferation thing explains why there's a lack of respect for like the OGs and like older generations.
Because they're not there.
Right.
They're not on the internet.
And so like younger people coming up automatically I like link that with irrelevance, like them not participating in the internet. But then they also go, yeah, sure. Well, this guy's been doing comedy for 20 years and maybe he's got such and such credits, but like this lady on TikTok has 1 million views, you know? So it's like this like constant just like competition and like cannibalization of like other content creators and stuff.
That these people are like getting spots at clubs.
And
stuff too. It doesn't help. Like it's like, oh, this girl and her dog who just do like little comedy videos on TikTok. Somehow they have 2-night show on a Friday at some comedy club. You know, I'm not saying that has happened, but like as an example, you know, hypothetical example, like it's stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's like because they can sell tickets now, so it's like we are going away from like in like at least in the business scheme away from like, you know, true comedy, but I feel like you know, eventually we'll find something. I think that like as comedians, I think it's our responsibility if we want something like we want like more time or whatever, then we should build it or we should do it. It's like, what does everybody always say when you want more time? Get your own room. Get your own room. It's like, you want to do 10 minutes, host your own open mic. You know what I mean? Like, do 5 minutes off the top, 2 minutes here and there in between, like, you know, 20 comics. Boom, 10 minutes. Get your own fucking room. And it's just like, that's what you have to do. You just have to, like, build shit. And that's what we were talking about earlier. It's like, if you just do a little bit more, you know what I mean? You'll just see way more results in whatever you're trying to do. Podcast, you know, comedy, fucking, you know, I don't fucking know, fucking eating food. You want to fit more food in your mouth? Boom. Like, put more food in your mouth. Do it.
No.
I don't fucking know, dude.
But no, I agree with you. I think it should be about building something because that means that there's always something new to be excited about. You know, like there's a vision there and you're trying to execute it and every step along is going to be exciting, but you've got something to constantly refer back to. So I think that's always a great thing. I mean, running your own rooms as a new comic is really informative, and like you get that initial hosting experience and all that.
How do you run a few rooms?
Yeah. So down in the Dayton area, I do Franklin Tavern, which is every Monday, and then every other Saturday. I do that show, and then I have one at Bach Family Brewing, which I think you're doing later this month.
29th?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah,
Plug.
it's gonna be awesome. I'll be out of town, but my
I noticed
roommate
that. I
John,
saw your little.
the t-shirt.
Is that a real T-shirt? Or
No,
is
no,
okay,
that
that's what I
was
thought.
totally
Photoshopped.
Yeah.
I figured. But I saw that the 29th you weren't going to be there, and I was like, oh, that little motherfucker. He's going to put me on a show. He's like, I'm going to be out of town. I'll just get Eddie.
Well, I did. So initially I was going to be at Bach Family Brewing, but then the Midwest Comedy Tour dates came up.
Oh, okay.
For late July, and so I was like, yeah, I'll find someone to because I want to head out there with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's still going to be a fun one, and you'll have a good time meeting the folks down there.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a bunch of people that I have not met, so I'm going to be hyped to meet some of the new, some other Dayton people.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Yeah, because I met, who was it? Deontay? I think he's Dayton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, met him. I did a show with him at the Dolphin Lounge, so I think, is Rufio Dayton or is he Columbus? I don't remember.
I think he's a Columbus guy.
Yeah, okay. I don't I just started seeing him after the Dolphin Lounge.
Sure.
I had heard of him, but I'd never seen him. And then after the Dolphin Lounge, I was seen him 4 or 5 times now, and I'm like, that's crazy.
Gotcha.
But I met Deontay at the Dolphin Lounge, so I think that's the only Dayton comic that I've really. Wait, is Caleb Lee from there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
Caleb's a Dayton guy.
Yeah. Okay. So I met 2 or 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I can't wait. It's exciting. I
Yeah,
want to start getting into those scenes a little bit more because I know that they do that Sunday Wiley's open mic thing.
Yeah,
every
Sunday
once in a while.
comics.
Yeah. I need to get into that. I emailed them once, but I just was busy after that, and they never emailed me back. So I was just I'll just get to them some other time. I don't know.
Sure. No, I know what you mean, man. But you should come down more often and do some of the shows that I've got going in the area, because in addition to Bach Brewing, there's also JD Legends, and then Barrel of Laughs is quarterly now. It's every 3 months.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then we'll have the stuff coming up at Bricky. So we're kind of trying to create a whole farming system for comedy down in that area, just for the Dayton scene.
That's what I want to get going here, but I just don't want to run any of it.
Sure.
So that's so I'm just trying to find people who I know would be really good at it, and I'm eventually if it builds up into what I think it could be, then you can just leave and just have somebody else run it. But I just don't want to be that guy who starts everything, because I also feel I have a lot of ideas that I'm trying to get going, but I also just want to be able to go to more mics. So it would be really nice if I could just hop in and do some more open mics, maybe do some more shows, because we do need more showcases, but honestly I just think that we need more time just to get on stage for a lot of our newer comics, because it takes so long. If you work a full-time job, you miss 2 nights out of the week, and now you can only do Thursday and Friday for let's say, and now there's only 1 mic on each day, so now you're only doing 10 minutes a week as opposed to maybe doing 15 each night. You know what I mean? Hitting 3 a night or something like that. Yeah,
and if you're really invested in building it and you decide to try and make an impact on that side of things, and you end up sacrificing your ability to focus purely on your own comedy. So I see what you're saying there. That's kind of the trade-off you're considering.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense at this juncture, because you can always start building later on. If you get to a place where you feel comfortable with your progression as a comedian, then you can say okay, I'm happy here. I have a process, and now I can take on the second, endeavor of also building something.
Yeah.
In terms of a comedy kind of infrastructure.
How long was it before you started a room?
Oh man, I think it was 5 months.
Whoa.
I did it a little bit soon, and I had literally just entered the Dayton comedy scene a couple weeks before that, and so there was some
you just fucking showed up and you're like, hey guys,
Yeah.
I'm a new comic, got a new room, and there was who are you?
Yeah, and so there were a few OGs and like, people I'm like good friends with now who I think like initially were like a little skeptical because they were like, this is way too soon. I think I was pretty upfront about the fact that I was only a few months into comedy. But yeah, I moved back to Ohio. I had only been doing stand-up for about 6 months, and I was like, I think, 5 or 6 months. And I went and did a set at Wiley's and did some of the local open mics. And I was like, I think I want to set up a show, and just learn how that process works. And so I approached the Barrel in Springboro, which is close to my hometown of Franklin. Talked to them and then booked that room. And that was the first time I ever hosted too.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I mean, that's like good though, because it's like, at least in the very beginning, you got like, you were thrown in the fire.
Yeah.
At least you threw yourself in the fire like right away. So that's good.
Yeah.
But I will say there's a comic that I know who is trying to start a room and has maybe been on stage once.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe twice.
Yeah.
Love the guy. I love the guy. And I want him to go on stage.
Oh, we
Sure.
We're not going to say any names or where their location is. But when he told me that he was starting a room, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, dude. Like, and the thing is like, and you can ask every single person who's ever come up to me. I'm a very supportive person. I'll talk shit to you, don't get me wrong. But, like, I'm a very supportive person. But when I see something that, like, and it's not even a bad idea, it's just that you haven't put enough thought into it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I have, all these new comics because, like, I, like, try to befriend all of them because I think it's important as a new comic to have people who, are a little bit above you. And they'll like ask me all these questions, and just reading the question, I can tell that it's coming from a place of like ignorance. Like,
oh, sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's because like they think that that's something that should be available. Like we were talking about, like you should just get 10 minutes automatically. It's like they think that like this thing should just be available for them. And I was like, you just need to get more time on stage right now. Like that should be like your most focus is just getting more stage time. I mean, you did that by starting your own room, but at the same time, you were going up before that. It wasn't like your fucking second or third time on stage. It was, you know what I mean? You've been doing it for a few months.
That can always go one of two ways when someone who's brand new starts a room. It can either be a total and complete disaster that like ruins the venue for comedy for the foreseeable future, or it can be one of those things that just kind of serendipitously like goes well, even though the people are inexperienced. Maybe they're like, in certain instances, because of the inexperience, they're like trying a little harder to like cross the T's and dot the I's and do the due diligence. So then maybe it works out that way.
I hope.
Hopefully you're right. But unfortunately, the sample size would be like too small to figure out like the probability of either of those outcomes. So
well, and mine isn't even seeing that wasn't even a thing that I thought about. I wasn't even thinking about the venue like dropping it because like whatever. But like I was just more like thinking about like for them like just like embarrassment or like whatever type of like emotional damage might come with like doing something when you're not ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't take 30 minutes right now. If somebody offered me 30 minutes, I wouldn't take it. I would tell them, like, hey, like, I can do, like, maybe 15. Like, we can probably give somebody else, like, we could split up the other 15 if we need to or something like that. Like, that's just something I know I couldn't do right now. And I don't think that I deserve that either. Like, you know what I mean? So, it's like one of those things that I think I should start a room. Like I think that's something that I should be doing right now as a 3-year comic who's like wanting more time and everything. That's something that I should be doing. Yeah. But at the same time, when I see somebody who's like, maybe you should wait just a little bit longer. Like just hit the stage a few more times. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a balancing act because you to a certain degree know what you're capable of and what you're ready for. But then on the other hand, like it is important to listen to like those detractors and like kind of sometimes voices of reason that have been there for a long time, and then you just kind of calibrate it and figure out like where in the middle you are in terms of that, if that makes sense. I'm still pretty high.
No. No, I was gonna say, dude, like I feel like I mean, how many times would you say you went up before you started your room? If you were doing it for 5 months, did you hit it pretty hard when you started?
Definitely. The first 2 months, I think I went pretty hard. I did it that first night, thought I was never going to do it again. And then after the set was over, I was like, I definitely want to do this more. Like, I want to give this more of a shot. And so I think it was only a few days before I went up again. And then I started going up like every night, everywhere I could find. I would do between New York City and New Jersey, I'd do like maybe 6 or 7 mics a night sometimes.
6 or 7
6
a
or
night?
7, yeah. Yeah, and I did that for like, you know, probably 2 or 3 months. And then I kind of backed off a little bit when I was getting ready to move back to Ohio just because I was getting busy with other stuff. And then moved back to Ohio.
How much time are you getting at these mics?
Oh, sometimes it was like 3 minutes.
So even at 3 minutes times 5 mics, that's still 15 minutes a night.
Yeah.
And that's on the low side. So it's like if all of them were 3 and you were doing 6.
Yeah.
Wow. 8. Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
Damn, that was very soon.
This is a little embarrassing, but I arrived to New Jersey with a pretty substantial amount in savings, and from the job I'd done in Florida, and I lost so much of that so quickly because I was in traveling to do open mics so much, I wasn't paying attention to my cost, and so I'd have to like hop on the subway and like then get on a bus and then take a taxi, and that adds up, and then you have a couple of beers at the show or whatever. And so I was just so concerned with like getting more stage time and just going after it that I just like threw caution to the wind in terms of my own financial circumstance and lost a shit ton of money.
Yo, that's like the process I'm at right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like now is like the time that I've like when I first started, I hit it hard. Like kind of like what you're saying. Like we get like a little bit more time here. We don't have, you know, a lot of comics like that, like that go to all of the mics, but like I was hitting like 2 or 3 a night, like back in the day when they were like pretty, like we had like 1 on Mondays, 2 on Tuesdays, 2 or 3 on Wednesdays, 2 or 3 on fucking Thursdays. Like it was like a fire ass week. Yeah. And I was like the exact same way, but I wasn't getting the same amount of work. Like the amount of work that I was getting done then is not the same. Like I could do fucking 10 minutes in a week now and get way more work done than I was doing all week when I first started. You
weren't as efficient or productive at the beginning.
Oh yeah, I was garbage, dude. I was fucking garbage, dude. I was like literally, you know, I'm not like the worst comic now, but like I was probably pretty damn close like before.
So what was your process at the beginning and how has it changed?
I don't know exactly. I think now the difference is before, and I talk to one of my comic friends about this often, but he always says from his perspective it always seemed like I was doing what I thought comedians were supposed to be doing. Okay. If that makes sense. Yeah. As opposed to like actually like figuring out, oh, like this is what a joke is. This is like how to get a laugh. Like I was just like talking. Like it was just like a monologue. And I wasn't, you know, I was working at the Funny Bone. I worked at the Funny Bone for so long. I was seeing all these people who already had millions of followers, or already had thousands of people who would just come out to see them on a whim. You know, oh, shit, Dave Chappelle's going to be here tonight? I'll be there tonight. Like, I didn't know that was happening. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like I see all these people, and they'll just go on stage and they'll just say random shit. Yeah. And it gets laughs. And it won't even be funny. Sure. And you know what I mean? Sure. Half the times it's like it's just like everyone's hyped to see this person. And so like I feel like when I first went on stage, I felt like that's what I was doing. I was just like going on stage and I was just saying filler shit and thinking that I was going to somehow get like laughs and stuff like that. But I will say this though. I haven't really gone back and listened to those first sets. Somebody told me very early on to record them all, so I did. So good for them because I did that. So I'll go back eventually. But the mom is a pirate joke that I did at the Funny Bone. Yeah, that's the only joke that I can remember for right now. That's the only one that I like kind of made up in the beginning. Yeah, and then made it into like a real thing like after the pandemic.
Interesting, man. So at the beginning, did you think it was going to be more about like beat and rhythm kind of then?
I don't know. I don't know.
There's just like a structure.
Silly.
Kind of? Okay. I
was trying to be like, you know, I was talking about dumb, stupid shit like cheese, like you know, like I was eating cheese and found cheese on me like the next day. Like it was
actually pretty funny.
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
You know what? Like maybe, who knows? Maybe I could make it work now. But like,
yeah.
But like, I don't know. I didn't have joke structure. Word economy out the window.
Yeah.
Like I think that might have been my biggest issue. Is maybe I just didn't have word economy. Because like who knows? Maybe that could be a funny thing if you say it correctly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so maybe the story is too long, and I didn't understand that at first. Like, oh, you can't tell a 2-minute story and then expect to then get a laugh. Like, people are going to be bored and not want to listen to you anymore. So it's like, you got to be quicker about it. You know, you got to be quicker to getting a laugh. You got to be quicker to grabbing attention and all that stuff. I didn't know all that shit before.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I did, but I just wasn't practicing it.
Yeah. So it's like the whole brevity is the soul of wit concept, I guess, where like over time you start to like focus more on economy of words, because at the beginning there's not that understanding that if you can not waste words, like whatever concept you're trying to get across is going to be that much more effective.
Yeah.
So like your thinking on it just kind of evolves over time, and then your process follows that. Yeah.
So you were doing all those open mics, and you said you did pretty well in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I mean, well for like
new,
you know,
brand new.
and I think the reason why was almost because like, maybe it was a little that they felt bad for me because it was my first few times, but the crowds were really, really nice and receptive. The first probably 3 times I did stand up. And I was like, oh, man, this is like a piece of cake. Like, you know, this will be no problem. Just go every night and you'll be dealing with people like this. And then I think I bombed like 4 or 5 times in a row. And I was like, okay. This is actually pretty hard. But yeah, I think if I remember correctly, that's kind of how it went. And then there was one time it went so poorly one night that I literally just quit for 3 weeks and decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. And then I started to get that bug, and I was like, I gotta get back out there. Dude, so
I have you know, this is like, that's just you or whatever, but like, dude, I've never had that.
That's awesome.
I've literally bombed so hard. Like, there have been times, like, don't get me wrong, there have been times where I'd gone home and been like, this is probably not going to be the thing. This is probably not going to be it. You know what I mean? But then I always still go back, and I always like, you know what I mean? And and the only time I've ever taken time off like that was, you know, pandemic, or like, you know, something like financials coming up. So now I have to like work super extra, or I just got to miss all the mics or whatever. So because I haven't even started getting shows until probably November-ish.
Okay, of last year.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm like very new to getting shows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that determination and, like, you know, attitude to be, you know, stick-to-itive about it. I think that for me, that's developed a little more over time. Like, maybe now I have thicker skin.
Yeah.
And, like, I think no matter how hard I bombed at a show, I probably wouldn't be like, I'm going to quit now.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, I was super sensitive about it. And,
really?
If it went really, if it went, I mean, I guess it got a little bit better, you know, after a fairly short period of time. But yeah, if it went really bad, I would reconsider the whole thing in like the early first like few weeks. Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, there have been times where I've like seen people like cry.
Oh yeah.
Because
I've seen
like
that.
Bomb. And I feel so bad, because it's like, dude, I mean, and it sucks to say this, there's always tomorrow, dude. Like, literally, like, you know what I mean? And as a person, as a white comedian, a white straight comedian, trust me, you bomb in life way more nowadays than you like ever did in the past. So it's like I feel like I get a lot more. I bomb in life a lot more now, you know, just because, you know, of my personality or just who I am, and it's just like, you just gotta get up. People aren't gonna like you. You just gotta, you know, you're gonna work with people you don't like. You're gonna see people you don't like. There's going to be somebody at the grocery store who's just going to say something to you because they feel some sort of way. It's like, same thing on stage. You just got to, as long as they're not attacking you, you know, you just keep that away.
Definitely.
Away. Have you ever been attacked on stage?
I had one instance.
Yeah.
I
Was
had,
that recent?
No, this was a while ago.
Okay.
This was like in the very beginning in New Jersey, but I was doing a mic at this place. I think it was called the Boiler Room, and I want to say it's like outside Hackensack or something. And this tiny little like a dive bar basically, and there was a guy who kept heckling throughout the thing, and he kept saying he was going to get on stage. And so when I finally got, and he wasn't actually signing up for the mic, so everybody was getting a little frustrated with that. And so when I got up there, I made some sort of a wisecrack that like involved his penis or something like that. Like I said, it implied he had a small penis, and he got super mad, and so he ran up on stage and tried to whip his dong out and like touch it to. It was weird, man. It was crazy. And so luckily, another I was like, I think I'm gonna have to punch this guy in order to avoid that happening. But then luckily another couple of comics came up, and together we kind of deterred him basically. But that was
your dick out, dude.
Yeah, that was to some extent that was an attack, I guess.
Damn.
But yeah, that was crazy.
Really quick, Ridge.
Yep.
If you check the side pockets of the bag, you might be able to find the battery. But dude, nice. Yeah. Battery died, but we're back. Here we are. I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was important.
I don't either. Yeah. We were talking about being attacked on stage.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been attacked on stage?
I have not been attacked on stage, but that's like always been a fear of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Especially
that's
like, especially nowadays, it's like I've always just been like, because I'm always afraid of working on material, just because it's like, there's a lot of stuff that, you want to talk about or whatever, you want to try. And it's like, a lot of people just like don't like that stuff. And it's like, even now it's like hard, even about abortion or anything. It's like, you don't even have to be talking about race now. It's like anything. It's like, you're going to get heckled by some person in the crowd. It doesn't matter which side. And depending on what you say to them could piss them off and make them want to go on stage. You know what I mean? Yeah,
there's and maybe it's been this way in every era, but it feels like there are a lot of like potential attention seekers right now. Mm-hmm. So there are people that may calculate like, hey, if I interrupt this show, it's going to result in people, I'm going to get a positive response from that, or maybe they think they're going to end up on social media and they're going to be the person who owned the
like
comic.
We said, dude, the internet. It's like what happens. It's like it's the only way to like really get your name out there. And that's like one of the craziest things like that I've been thinking about recently is like all these people who have been like doing all these shootings and stuff like that. Like all these people who are like copycatting all these other guys. They're all writing these fucking books that, I mean, I'm not reading them. Like, it's so I don't know how effective, what you think you're doing is or whatever, but it's like these people like, they're just, in my head, they're just seeking attention. It's like, maybe they are trying to do something, but it's like I don't know, dude, there's too many people who are wanting to be out there. A lot of them want to be famous. They want to be like and I've heard now that a lot of people on these like chat rooms who are like getting into this stuff, like they're like making it like competitions. Like people who are writing these messages out are like, last guy got 10, I'm gonna get 15 or whatever. And it's like, dude, what is happening right now?
Yeah, it's a pretty desperate circumstance for society, considering that people are resulting to something that extreme in order to try and gain significance. I mean,
which is nuts.
It's crazy. Yeah, it makes you wonder how we could modify things so that thought process isn't as pervasive in society. But then also like there's other practical steps which should be part of the equation, which aren't really like politically viable because of the way our democracy operates right now. But yeah, I think the attention seeking piece, like if there's, do you think it'd be effective if the media, put that policy back in place where they just don't give the person's names or something along those lines?
Maybe. I think that would probably work. I think something else that would probably work is that like, I don't know, like you could do like breaking news, this thing just happened, but I think that we also need to like wait before we give information out, like right away, because I think like what happens nowadays is because of social media, you get information immediately. And it's not always right information.
It's very true.
Then you go, and this has happened to at least happens to Fox News, but I watch more of CNN. It's like over the past few years, CNN does that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Someone will post, oh, this thing happened at this park and or whatever, and then they'll cover it, and then you find out, well, that's not what happened, or these kids are getting angry at this Native American person, and it's like, well, that's not what happened. And you're like, you know, then you're like, well, you know, we tell all of our, you know, our parents and stuff like that, you know, they say, don't believe what you see on TV. It's like, don't believe everything that you see on social media. Yeah. And then it's like, that stuff just ends up on TV, which is still fake. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I try to be very careful, especially on TikTok, because, you know, it's owned by China. So it's like, how do I know that any of the videos that I'm seeing about, like, the Russia and Ukraine war that are from civilians, how do I know that that's them? How do I know that I'm not seeing old war footage? Yeah. How do I know that I'm even seeing Ukraine right now? I've never been to Ukraine. I don't fucking know what it looks like. So how do I know that the videos that I'm being shown are, you know, real at all? You know what I mean? Well, not real, but you know what I mean? Like in Ukraine or happening today or whatever.
No, real, because a lot of them are from like stills from movies.
Yeah. Like and I that happens a lot too, where there's like they'll have a picture, like news stations will sometimes like have like a picture that like was like months before the thing that they're talking about is like happened or whatever. Like so it's like they'll be like, oh, a fire at this house over here, and then they'll put like a picture of like a burning Dollar General or something like that. Like stupid stuff like that. And it's like, how do you, like you can't connect any information.
I mean, like, because the capitalist nature of our society, all media is market driven on some level. Yeah. You know, so like they're all just responding to incentives. And, you know, cable news generally has incentive to push a particular type of narrative, and then independent media has their incentives to push a particular type.
Is there a way to fix that?
Well, I mean, you could. So like in a lot of European countries, they'll have publicly funded news networks that are the main information purveyors in the country. We have that in the form of something like PBS, but it's not as well funded. It's not propped up as much. Yeah. And so you could do something along those lines, which would, you know, then non-privatize the broadcast media. But then again, maybe that somehow offends like our constitutional principles and values, and that would have to be an analysis that would be done.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I think about that stuff a lot. That's the type of stuff that I think about is like, how do, like, because if a lot of this stuff is like motivated by greed, it's motivated by all this shit. How do we fix it? Because I don't think the solution to fixing it is taking things away, or you can't own a news station anymore, you can't do this anymore, or whatever. I don't think that that's the solution. Yeah, because I was just going to say, when it becomes compelled, that's when you're starting to look at a more, you know, structured, like, you know, attempt at like communism or socialism or something along those lines. Oh man, I just lost my train of thought because I'm still super stoned. I'm doing my best, man, but I'm like sentence to sentence. This is almost like someone who's eating hot wings. He's like trying to get through.
My throat's finally feeling a lot better, but the pot kicked in hard.
Yeah, dude. Hey, I'm glad that your throat feels better though.
It does way better. It was burning like hell there for a little bit.
That's so hilarious.
But but I know we were talking about how do you correct people's impulse toward greed and self-interest and all of that. I mean, I guess all you can really do is create like better incentive structures and try and do it within the capitalist system, because I don't, it's almost like that old Winston Churchill quote where he says democracy is the worst system of government except for all the others. You know, I think it's like kind of like that with our economic system. I mean, capitalism is the worst economic system except for all the others. And so I guess if you can change the incentive structure within the system, then maybe that's a potential avenue. Yeah. Well, what do you think, man? What have you concluded so far in analyzing that?
I don't know. I think something that I've thought about, because a lot of the problems that I think that our country has, in my true honest opinion, is because we've turned into an information service technology society.
Kind of moved away from manufacturing and agriculture.
So I think that the only way to melody this, because the only reason that these tech companies are so big is because they have all of our data, is that we need to find some sort of way that, like, either one, bring manufacturing back, or two, we need to, like, figure something out that gets, like, the money to the people from these tech companies. Because there is kind of an unfair trade-off happening right now. And I think that, like, they're not being as honest about how unfair the trade-off is. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that I can watch 10 videos and then that tells somebody in, you know, Washington State that they have to buy a, you know, washer and dryer or something like that. Like, I don't know how the algorithm fucking works, like how, like, videos that I watch affect him, and he was at my house, so now his phone reads my phone, and now it's gonna recommend you on TikTok and all that bullshit. It's like, you know, they're doing a lot of stuff that, you know, we have consented to, but we have no idea what's actually happening. You know what I mean? So I think that, in my opinion, the only solution, at least for where we're at, if we're going to stay in information and service technology society or whatever, is that we need to get money from the tech companies. Because I think that that's the only solution. Because I think that they're making enough money to do so.
So if you were to, and you would do this probably through taxation, right? Like getting money from the tech companies, or
I don't know exactly how I would do it. I think if I were going to do it, I would have it like literally individual payouts to, like, citizens.
Gotcha.
Because, like, at this point, Facebook is the size of a country.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The amount of people that it has on its servers. Like, if we treated the internet space like we treat, like, you know, geographical, you know, land or whatever.
Sure.
Like, you know, the internet space is a lot bigger or whatever, but, like, they own a lot of it. And it's like, it's like, are we just going to let you own all this land and, like, make people, you know, survive off of it for no reason? So, like, you know, they do like, and this is, like, something that I've recently thought about, especially because, like, the Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, TikTok and everything, they are offering you money to get views. And it's like, everybody who uses social media gets views on something. Right. So it's like, why can't we implement something for every single person? Like, obviously make it a way to where it's, like, tied to, like, a social, whatever any country uses, like, identification number for an individual, and just pay them for using the fucking app, for using Facebook, watching the videos, posting videos, doing all the stuff. Because, like, you're kind of an employee if you're going on to these things and, like, boosting things by commenting and liking and stuff like that. You're doing, like, what a social media manager is doing on, like, other accounts. So it's like, why aren't we getting paid for that time?
Yeah, so it's almost like a redistributive approach, but it's targeted toward a specific industry.
Yeah.
So it's not even like, you'd think that
I think,
would be...
I think we're just, like, working for free right now. That's what's happening right now.
Sure.
I didn't say the other word. Chill. I heard the
No, that's just so true.
Like,
fucking true.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you're looking at an ad, when you click on an ad, you know, or you or just scroll past an ad and you're looking at all this stuff, like, they have the means. They have the money to do these things.
Yeah, that's interesting. So essentially, as opposed to, you know, a sort of a taxation scheme or taxation structure that results in the tech companies, you know, giving more money to the government, and then that being allocated more for, like, resources to you know, lower socioeconomic status communities. Basically what you're saying is this would be a creation of jobs, because you're just transforming users into
paid employees.
Paid employees, and that would be one way to almost, you're voluntarily, or, well, I mean,
you've already voluntarily.
Right, exactly.
So you're like, literally the only people actually losing anything in the trade-off is them. Yeah,
okay.
Because you're already using Facebook. And a lot of these, and like when we're talking about lower, social economic people, a lot of these people who like do have phones, who happen to have Wi-Fi, that's like a lot of the stuff that they're doing is like, because they, when I was younger, I didn't have the money to like go out to the bowling alley with my friends. I didn't have the money to do that. So what I stayed at home, played video games. I got on YouTube. I did all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's like what I would do as a child. So it's like, I feel like a lot of these people are on Facebook. They're taking videos of people, their friends, posting them online. And it's like, why aren't they getting, if they're providing views for the algorithm and they're pushing things in the direction it wants, why aren't we getting paid for that?
It's so in proposing this solution, is there like a consideration about the like political feasibility? Because I think what's really interesting about it is that it may actually be like a bipartisan approach.
Yeah.
Because you from a Republican perspective, they may be happy that you're creating more jobs, like you're expanding the private sector technically by creating all these new employees. And then on the Democratic side, there's a redistributive element about it, where you're diminishing the, the, what would you call it, the omnipresence of like the tech companies or whatnot. Dude, I think it's an interesting. It's an interesting idea.
I think it's thought. Yeah. I think it's like something that like other people have also probably proposed, just like with the data aspect, just like with the idea like you going to certain places gives Instagram or all these other like that's another aspect of it that needs to be in consideration. But I just think that people using the apps in general, and getting all sorts of stuff, like all these Facebook games that they create that people are playing and everything, and even like putting money into and stuff like that. It's like there should be, it is metaverse for a reason now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because they are creating that thing. So my argument is that if you're going to create a country, then you got to play ball like a country. You can't be a country within a country like the Vatican and be like, oh, I'm just protected from everything, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. Especially if you have fucking 8, or I don't know how many people, probably like 3 billion people on there. I would assume Facebook's probably got like 3 billion. Look that up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got to be up there.
But all I know is that like if there's that many people, let's say they have 4 billion accounts.
Yeah.
Let's say 2 billion of them are actual people or have double accounts or whatever. Let's say that there's
0.9 billion.
Okay.
Wow.
So let's say 1.5, just for the sake of being nice to them.
Yeah.
Let's just say there's 1.5 billion people,
in the metaverse.
Yeah, in the metaverse right now.
Okay.
Like, how many of those people are poor? How many of those people are lower, social, economical, ladder or whatever? It's like
they say 65% of that are people who sign in like daily. So only 1.9 billion people on Facebook.
Okay. So 1.5 is like
suggested to be non-bots.
Okay. So so there you go. So it's like if we have that many people, how many of those people are actually poor? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like if they're all using that, all these poor people in China or people who are living in all these remote places that are either using Facebook or whatever social media aspect that they're using to get in contact with all these other people, like they should be getting paid.
Yeah.
For their data, for their shit. And I think that it's like not too much to ask. These companies have probably close to trillions of dollars. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a real paradigm shift, man. That would be a restructuring of the whole economic system and the process. You know?
And it's also would get rid of the idea of what's it called? The stimulus checks or like the constant.
UBI, universal basic income.
Yeah. Because now the government doesn't have to provide for something that somebody else isn't providing. Because that's the only reason why the government ever has to provide for something is because somebody else isn't offering it to them. So the only reason the government would have to give us free money is because wherever that money is going isn't coming to us anyways.
Exactly.
So it's like cut out the middleman because I think the government would fuck it up anyways.
Yeah.
And just make fucking Facebook pay us. It's like they already have a lot of our payment accounts to take money from us,
Yeah.
it's just as easy to send it.
Yeah, I wonder if the tech companies would modify their business model like super quickly in order to try and get around that. You know?
Maybe.
Like,
I don't know.
But it would.
But at the
least,
same time,
yeah.
if we talked about like, you know, pricing, or, you know, because it's like, you know, we're not asking for $1 billion, but like,
Yeah.
let's talk about what is a feasible amount to pay people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, because who knows? Like, if you do this, you could potentially increase usage. Because now people are like, oh shit, Facebook is paying me to like get views and likes and stuff like that. You know, just crack down on bots like you have been. You know, just make it like a real person thing, and just you know, I don't know. It's like a lot of us spend our time online now anyway. So if we're gonna be spending our time scrolling and clicking likes and stuff like that, fucking pay us.
Yeah, I like that idea, man. I mean,
Dude,
it's super interesting.
Let's fucking write out a fucking. You used to write speeches for like political figures, didn't you, or shit for political figures?
There was a little bit of that going on. I was mainly like a campaign operative,
Okay.
you know, so I was basically just like trying to, you know, help execute like a field plan, you know, for the candidate.
All right, so we can do this. You could execute my field plan. I'll run for president. 2036, I think, is probably when I'll be able to run. There you go. I think, we can make this happen.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, dude. We're going to make tech companies pay people for using their apps.
Is that something that you came up with just kind of like thinking about politics and like current events? Or
I really hate it's kind of, I really dislike the cynicism within the socialist and communist communities.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, like, because I used to be very along those lines. I used to be like, when I was like so dumb and didn't know shit about anything, I was like very communist.
Same here.
I was like, dude, communism's where it's at. Everybody needs to get everything. I should have to just fucking sit at home and eat and do nothing. Like, and that's like how I thought about it. And then as I grew older, I was like, you know, probably a little bit more socialist, I guess. But now it's like I'm like free market capitalist.
You're questioning everything.
I'm like, dude, no, dude. Like, give me the freedom, because it's like I don't trust anybody else to do the thing that I need to be done. You know what I mean? It's like, why do I have to trust somebody to like tell me what doctor I should go to or whatever? You know what I mean? There's and don't get me wrong. With that being said, there's a lot of like con artists. There's a lot of fucking, you know,
grifters,
doctors that aren't going to be fucking great, that, you know, are going to offer, you know, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like there's things that, I feel like there's things that we can figure out. Like, I just think that, you know, a lot of the problems I think that we have in this country stem from the amount of regulations that we have.
Yeah.
Because now, in order to do anything, you have to be $1 billion corporation. Yeah. And by that time, you're just fucking everybody already. So now you're able to break the system because now you're allowed to do it. And it's like, I don't think it's fair. I think that, like, if Elon Musk and his company get to, you know, mine for minerals, I should be able to go and pick up some fucking rocks and try to make a cell phone myself. I should be able to do that without being like, oh, you don't have a, you know, radio license to broadcast your cell phone signal. Like,
it should be a real meritocracy, basically, where you don't have such stringent barriers to entry that you get, you know, a few companies monopolizing every industry.
And that's what's happening. And that happens regardless if you have capitalism or communism, because it's like, it's going to monopolize under communism because it has to be a centralized thing, and it's going to monopolize under full-blown capitalism because then it's just become oligarchy. Everyone's buying, like Disney. Disney's the biggest fucking corporation, like literally the biggest corporation in the fucking world. They own everything. They own, like, they now own Marvel. They now own fucking, you know, everything. They fucking own everything. I don't know what they don't own. Pixar, like everything that, like, I remember being separate from Disney is now Disney. Fox Sports, I think, is Disney or some shit like that. Dude, it's crazy. And that should be allowed too, but I don't know how to fix that either. It's like,
that's a tough one to regulate, because it kind of goes back to that, like, Pareto principle, law of nature, where, like, anytime you have an endeavor, like 80% of the results will go to like 20% of the participants. You know, it's kind of a natural law that exists. And so the question is like, how do you, because what can happen is maybe 80-20 is maybe that statistic is the way that nature naturally unfolds, but through incumbency, you can get an outcome even worse than that. You can get inequality exacerbated that much more. And so maybe the question is, how do you like impose some structure so that it's, you know, that whatever the breakdown is in terms of inequality, it's where it should be nature wise. Yeah. I don't know if that makes any, still super high. I'm still trying.
This is perfect. Fucking Kevin, you have any fucking shows coming up soon that you want to plug right now?
Well, there's a few things coming up. I'm not sure when the podcast will come out, but the big one is August 27th.
Okay. It'll be out before then. So awesome,
man.
August 27th.
August 27th. Bricky's Comedy Club in Miamisburg. Adding a new club to that scene is going to be really awesome. And
we didn't even fucking talk about it, but hell yeah. Maybe tell us a little bit, just a little bit, like a little clip about what you can tell us.
Yeah, so Bricky's Comedy Club is an idea that I thought about a little over a year ago. Or actually, no, it's less than a year because it was probably like September of last year. And it's just an idea to create a new comedy club that has this sort of Bricky's character as like a mascot for the brand or whatnot. And then the pieces have started falling in place. I've had a lot of help from, the Midwest Comedy Tour.
Shout out Becky and Austin.
Yep, they're awesome. And so we're kind of partnering together to try and bring this to fruition. And the first show is August 27th, 7 p.m.
And you guys are starting this as a monthly thing, right?
It's going to start out monthly. And
see where it goes?
Yeah, and we have some flexibility to scale up if we end up selling out like the first show, for example. We'll have additional shows to add. So for the most part, it'll be one weekend a month, at least initially. And then down the line, hopefully it'll grow. Yeah.
Hopefully it becomes a weekly thing. So really quick, what's with the Brickies? Why is that the mascot? Is there like a pun?
So actually, the way that came about was I was talking to my girlfriend at the time. I was talking to her dad, and we were discussing potential businesses. You know, because he ran a masonry business for decades. And I was talking about, I've got all this student debt. Tiffany has a lot of student debt as well. And so how do I potentially start a business in order to, make some financial headway? And because we were talking about his business and masonry, and I started to think about the old brick wall comedy clubs back in the 80s and how that would, kind of connect and be homage to that. I was like, well, let's just make it like a brick, like a anthropomorphized brick that, started his own comedy club. Well, it's going to be out of Star City Brewing, which actually is made out of brick, incidentally.
Hell yeah.
But
I was going to say it'd be really awkward if it was like just straight stone.
Oh, yeah. If it was something totally the opposite. But no, there's quite a bit of brick in that structure. And brickiescomedyclub.com or brickiescomedy.com is where people can get tickets.
Hell yeah, dude.
And it should be fun, man.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it. And then what's your Instagram or your other social media platforms where people can find you?
Well, again, I'm pretty high right now, so I'm trying to remember them. But it's at Kev Ruppert is my TikTok handle. KRuppert89 is my Twitter, and then Instagram is Kevin Ruppert Comedy. I think I got them. Hopefully,
yeah. And
hopefully
if not,
they're correct.
I'll have them in the description.
Awesome, thanks, man.
No problem, dude. We'll make sure that we get the link to the Brickies, guys. Remember, you guys can support the podcast through Anchor's listener system. Thanks for listening. I have a show. This probably won't be out by Friday, tomorrow, but I have a show tomorrow. That's going to be happening. It's going to be Half Baked Brewing. I'm going to be hosting a show, and then I'm doing a show fucking July 29th.
Yep.
Bach Family Brewing.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. Guys, thanks for listening. This was Kevin Ruppert. We'll see you next time.